Hello everyone, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. This is the Global Convention series for Environment and Ecology part of your syllabus. In the previous session, we have covered the Ramsar Convention for Wetland Conservation. Now, if you are new here in this particular video, I would advise you to go and watch that video also. It is very important because there has been several questions asked from Ramsar Convention and Wetland Conservation in your prelims as well as mains examination. Now, in this particular session, we are going to learn about the foundational conference for global environmental governance. Let's try to understand why do we need to study this Stockholm Conference of 1972. When I say foundational conference for global environmental governance, that means before this, there was no such international discussion deliberation platform, and based on, we can say that, human environment. Basically, this particular conference is also named as, we can say that, United Nations Conference on Human Environment. Conference on Human Environment. So here the word is very important, human environment. It is, we can say that, comprehensive term. So it is talking about all the aspects of climate change, environmental degradation, pollution and biodiversity loss. And that's why we should be understanding why it is called as foundational aspect. Now, before this, if you see the history, the historical context, yes, there was industrial revolution. What happened is, in 1968, there was a research put forward especially related to increase in CO2, that is a greenhouse gas in our atmosphere. And because of that, it was found that there has been increasing atmospheric temperature. And the study said that if this temperature goes on increasing in future, it will create lot of problems. And on the basis of this scientific study only, especially the government of Sweden, that's why it is also called as Swedish initiative, they had basically talked about all countries should come together and they should talk about and deliberate on, let's say, this particular impending issue at global level. And that's why we can say that the rivers and oceans became heavily polluted, acid rain affected Europe, nuclear testing raised the environmental concerns. Along with that, this is very important book in environmental, we can say that, awareness generation and in general environmental pollution. What is that? Silent Spring. This can be asked in prelims examination. 1962, this was written by Rachel Carson. Okay, Rachel Carson, this is the fundamental book in environmental pollution, we can say that. And she is creating awareness through very general layman's language through this book. And that's why at global level, there is awareness generation happens in the next decade. Sweden proposed an international environmental conference. That's why it is also called as Swedish initiative. So in this manner, you should know the historical context. Now, the world before 1972, rapid industrialization, environmental pollution happened, deforestation was happening, loss of biodiversity, growing environmental crisis. So slowly, there was a kind of consensus building happening that yes, global environmental crisis is happening because of these human interventions, and if we do not act now, then it will result into, we can say that, problems for the future generations. That's why we can say this is the historical context. Now, the basics about this conference, what happened in 1972? I told you it is basically United Nations Conference on Human Environment. Okay, 1972. This is the way. Now, where it happened? Stockholm, Sweden, capital of Sweden. So we can say that's why it is called as Stockholm Conference. But the original name, it is basically under the aegis of United Nations. Now, it happened from 5th to 16th June 1972. And that's why we can say that 5th June is considered as Global Environment Day or World Environment Day. Then 122 countries participated, including developing and underdeveloped countries. And what was the theme? Only one earth. This can be asked in prelims examination. This information is very important, and including India. Okay, India, our Prime Minister participated, and her, let's say, Indira Gandhi, her speech was very, let's say, impactful. We'll talk about that also, India's contribution. Now, what are all objectives were there of this particular conference? Protecting and improving human environment. Human environment includes all aspects, right? Balance environment protection with the development. Look at this. Now, here onwards, the concept of sustainable development basically emerge. Okay, then promote international cooperation, strengthen environmental governance. So these are all the objectives, and we can say Stockholm Conference is the recognized as the first global environmental summit. Okay, so remember this is very important, and it was undertaken under the aegis of United Nations. That becomes very, we can say, important fact. Now, specific about outcomes. Let's try to understand the major outcomes of Stockholm Conference. So when we talk about major outcomes, it's first one, Stockholm Declaration. This Stockholm Declaration talks about 26 principles. These principles are so comprehensive that it covers all aspects of environmental pollution related, or we can say that the global responsibility to deal with, we can say that environment pollution, climate change, or we can say global warming and biodiversity degradation, forest conservation, all aspects. Okay, then yes, on environment and development. Then action plan, 109 recommendations for global actions. Okay, so although they were recommendatory, try to understand there was no legally binding anything under this particular convention. So it is recommendatory, we can say that. Then creation of this institute was a major outcome. United Nations Environment Program. So UNEP, this institute became very, very important, and today also if you see, this is the only United Nations driven let's say environment related, all the global, let's say, activities, all the decisions are coordinated by this particular organization. It is headquartered in Nairobi, Kenya. Now this is very interesting fact you should know here, that Nairobi, Kenya, this particular, let's say, UNEP having headquarter, it is the only United Nations arm having its headquarter in the global south. Now when I say global south, it does not mean south of equator, that is southern hemisphere. It is international relations term. Global south means developing and underdeveloped countries. Okay, so this is the only United Nations, we can say that, headquarter body having the headquarter in the global south, Nairobi, Kenya. Then 5 June declared as World Environment Day. Okay, 5th to 12th June was basically as a part of, we can say that, 1972. That's why 5th June is declared as World Environment Day. Here onwards, we started becoming more conscious about, we can say that, protecting our environment. Now, United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, and its mandate and, let's say, different publications, this can be asked in prelims, and you must prepare all the important, let's say, United Nations or in general international organizations, their initiatives and publications. Okay, so first of all, yes, established 1972, created under Stockholm Conference, that is very clear just now. Then parent body United Nations, and governing body is United Nations Environment Assembly, that is created, not UNGA General Assembly, Environment Assembly under it, we can say that, that is the decision making body. Headquarter Nairobi, Kenya. I told you only UN headquarter in the global south, and at present the director name not important, we can say that. Now what is its mandate? Yes, it is not a research body, first thing you should understand. Rather, it is more about, we can say that, leadership and advocacy. Environmental leadership and advocacy, setting global environmental agenda, promoting sustainable development, supporting countries in implementing environmental policies, supporting implementation of multilateral environmental agreements. Which agreements? Like for example, Minamata Convention, Rotterdam Convention, Stockholm Convention, Basel Convention, or CMS, Convention on Migratory Species. CMS is what? Convention on Migratory Species. Okay, Bonn Convention, it is called as Bonn Convention, Convention on Migratory Species. Okay, remember this. So CMS is there, then thereafter CITES is there. CITES is what? Convention on International Trade in the Endangered Species, CITES. So all these are basically supported by UNEP. Then important initiatives, or we can say that publications, Global Environment Outlook is there, Emission Gap Report is released, Adaptation Gap Report is released, Frontiers Report Series is there. So this is, we can say that, the outcome of, or we can say that, publications and mandate of UNEP. This can be asked in prelims, again I am repeating, and this is a pending question. Even in mains, I would say that they have asked environmental conventions in, let's say, at international level, global conventions like Paris Agreement or Kyoto Protocol or Gothenburg Protocol, but they will ask a probable question related to organizations, their contributions and all these things. So this is related to, we can say, UNEP. One more such organization is IPCC, International Panel on Climate Change, their contribution. Such kind of question is, we can say that, pending question. Now further we can talk about is the principles, the 26 principles that we said. Okay, so important among them, principle 1, which is very relevant even today in India, right to live in the quality environment. Now in India, we know that Article 21 of Indian Constitution, from time to time, Supreme Court has interpreted in liberal manner, like for example, right to have clean air. Okay, clean air, we can say that clean environment, noise free environment, we can say that this is the Article 21 interpretation in several, we can say that clean drinking water, clean habitat. So Article 21, right to life and personal dignity, has been interpreted in this, personal liberty has been interpreted in liberal manner by the Supreme Court. Basically you can see the context started from here. Okay, global deliberation, fundamental right, right? Then thereafter, Article 21 is also very important in global governance, how sovereign right over the natural resources of that country. So India has sovereign rights over our natural resources, but at the same time, we should understand the responsibility not to cause environmental damage to other countries. So when we are using those natural resources, we should not damage the environment of other country. Let's say we are doing something and polluting the environment, that is resulting into environmental pollution in other countries, impacting those people, the ecology of that region. So this becomes foundation of international environmental law. Then we can talk about let's say principle 22, compensation for transboundary damage. Let's say any kind of such pollution or chemicals, hazardous chemicals, is resulting into damage in other country, then we can say that there should be some compensation by that country. Yes, principle 24, international cooperation is essential, must, especially to deal with the problems of climate change, global warming and biodiversity protection. Principle 26, protection from the nuclear weapons. Yes, nuclear weapons are disastrous in terms of its impact, not only on human life but also overall environment, and that's why there should be protection from nuclear weapons. So we can say that Stockholm Declaration contains 26 principles which balance environment protection with the development needs. So it is not only solely focusing on environment protection, rather it is also balancing the developmental needs. This is very important aspect, wherein we can now talk about, let's say, how Indian government, or we can say that India's contribution happened in this particular. So our Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, she had the historic speech there and she said poverty is the worst polluter. Can you imagine? Let's say why she said like this. It's not the poor people who are basically doing the environmental pollution. Let's try to understand that poor people are already living in, we can say that, poor sanitation conditions. They are not having the proper clean drinking water supply and polluted environment, indoor pollution. They are using the biomass, let's say burning for cooking purpose, and they, let's say they are facing a lot of problems. Basically they cannot have such kind of equipments and technology for clean sources of fuel, or for, we can say that, their own health. And because of that, in general we can say that their activities will result into pollution. Biomass burning will result into pollution, or we can say that the fossil fuels they are burning, it will result into pollution, because they do not have the clean technology. Overall, if you talk about the developing countries like India, at present also we are slowly transitioning towards EVs. There are a lot of problems with that, be it storage related or charging related infrastructure, or we can say the batteries are getting busted, burn, fire incidents are happening in different parts of the country. So safety related issues are there. So somehow we are still dependent on fossil fuels. So somehow the poverty aspect is relevant to pollution. 50 years back, 54 years back, she had mentioned in this conference. And yes, all developing countries and underdeveloped countries resounded in consonance with her voice in that speech. So in general we can say that this is linked to environment, linking environment with the development and poverty eradication, stressed on equity and justice between the developed and developing countries. This is the way it becomes foundation of CBDR. This vision led to principle of common but differentiated responsibilities, CBDR. So this becomes foundation for climate change negotiations in under UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Right? Then emphasize that environment solution must address the needs of the poor first, laid the foundation for India's consistent stance of climate justice. So at international level, India's position can be defined in this manner: environment protection, preserve natural resources. Then developmental needs, economic growth and progress, and poverty eradication, basic needs, equity and dignified life. This is the way balanced, equitable and sustainable future can be, talked about, right? The basis of India's stand is global environmental negotiations. This becomes the basis actually. Now, when we are saying it is a foundation, you can see that from 1972 onwards, even in India, 1972, what happened in India? Wildlife Protection Act 1972. We enacted Wildlife Protection Act. Then we can talk about is Water Pollution Act. Okay, Water Act 1973, immediately. Then we can say that Project Tiger, immediately, 1973. Okay, then we can talk about is Forest Conservation Act 1980. Then Environment Protection Act, although Bhopal gas tragedy was responsible for immediately enacting this, 1986. This is the way, and you can see here onwards at global level there was Brundtland Commission. Brundtland Commission is very important landmark. Brundtland Commission. So what this particular commission said, it talked about for the first time sustainable development concept. Sustainable development concept in 1987. Okay. You must also know that 1972, there was one concept given by a group of researchers at international level that is also, we can say, related to this conference, and further we can say that how resources, natural resources are used in a sustainable manner. This is called as limits to growth. Limits to growth. Okay, so group of scientists have talked about this, and that's why when we use the natural resources, if we use without any limitation in unsustainable manner, there will be limits. And of course the natural resources are limited, one should understand that, and the future generations will face lot of problems, scarcity for use of these resources. And further you can see that in India, for let's say steps are taken, and then we can say that then comes the Earth Summit. We are going to talk about that in next session. Earth Summit is very important because this conference resulted into lot of developments, especially related to biodiversity conservation, climate change and all these things. 1992. So in next session we are going to cover so all these conventions also. So I hope that it is helpful for all of you. I'm telling you again, they may ask how this particular conference became the foundation for global environmental governance, and how environmental governance started in India from this time onwards. Both aspect, international as well as national level. So you can prepare this particular, let's say, topic in this manner. And lastly, one small announcement related to optional subject at Legacy IS Academy. There are 4 optional subjects that we are starting here. From 17th of August, there will be PSIR, Sociology, Psychology and Anthropology optionals by the expert faculty. The comprehensive coverage of the syllabus will be done here with, we can say that, short notes, answer writing practice by the expert faculties. And you must understand that these optional subjects, which are also scoring subject, and most of the students are opting. So if you are planning to opt among these 4, you must talk to faculties here and try to have the session that is going to be there on 30th of July in afternoon. Stay tuned at this particular channel. There will be live session on YouTube and you can have direct interaction with the faculty. Okay, let's stop then. Thank you.